Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Come and say hi in the comments if you are joining. If you're watching me live, then in the Facebook comments, if you're watching me on Facebook and you're watching me live, send me a little green heart emoji. If you're catching this on the replay or catching this on YouTube, let us know that you're getting this on replay. If you're watching me on. And also as well, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and like our channel. Hello. So I have managed to get all of that out of the way now. So let's dive in today. I'm really excited for today. So we're going to do kind of like a little bit of an energy clinic come energy workshop today. So I'm really excited. So at the moment in our world at this point in time is that we are in Unity season here at Joanna Hunter HQ. And Unity would definitely have to be one of the most important lessons that I've ever learned in my entire online business and career. So let me just check out the chat there. So let's see who's all in. So hello, Liam. Hello, Janu, part of the 100. Whoop, whoop. Kelly from Team Hunter supporting us today. We've got Laura, who's in the 100. Joanne, good morning. One of my cartomancer ladies. Holly from the 100. Gretchen, hello. I don't know who iPhone is, but do let us know who you are. Got Lindsay, we've got Cindy Porter in the house. Hello, Christina. So, one of the most important lessons that I've ever learned in my sort of spiritual life, if you like, but also in my, just as a life lesson, is the lessons of unity or get selfish. So these lessons started off life in my world as this idea of getting selfish. What did that mean? We are brought up in a society that conditions us that if we put ourselves first, oh, you horrible, awful person, go straight to the naughty seat, you selfish cow. Right? But here's the thing. Meanwhile, the conditioning tells us not to put ourselves first because that's selfish. Meanwhile, somehow in all of that, we are supposed to help other people, and we're supposed to work out what it takes for other people to be happy when we don't actually even know what it takes for ourselves to be happy. Because remember, we're not allowed to be selfish. We're not allowed to figure these things out according to the conditioning of society, right? You put yourself first, you're a horrible, selfish person, you're somehow narcissistic. There's so many different traits to this idea of putting ourselves first. And yet somehow in that mix, we're meant to work out how we can be the helper of others, how we can help other people become happier, how we can do other things for other people when we don't even really know what it looks like for ourselves. So for me, it took a massive wake-up call. That wake-up call in my world came in the form of multiple organ failure. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. It's not something I would recommend to anybody to go through. If you can avoid it at all costs, I would highly suggest that and highly recommend that. But for me, what it did was it forced me into a position. And that position that it forced me into was to finally, at the age of 32, put myself first and really begin to look at how I've been living my life and really asking some very deep questions, like, was I living it right? Or was there a lot of room for improvement? what I found was a woman that had become very resentful. I felt very resentful and it had been a long-term energy for me at that point. I often worked out of the energy of resentment, so I wasn't really wanting to be there. I was just doing it because I had a load of stories, and the stories that I had were things like, if I don't do this, nobody else will. So let me know in the comments if these stories are resonating. So like, if I don't do this for other people or do this thing for this person that's asked me, then they won't have anybody else. So it's kind of all on me and I have to do that thing. I had a lot of energy of where I felt the energy of feeling hard done by. So I felt very much like I'd always drawn the short end of the stick. So let me know if that resonates with you. If you feel like you've drawn the short end of the stick, or you feel like put upon, or you feel like there's a lot of pressure on you. I spent a lot of time feeling that there was like a lot of pressure on me to come up with the goods, right? To like, whether that was financially for my family, or whether that was to like have a clean house for my family, or it was just felt like it was a lot of giving, not so much receiving. Does that resonate with anybody? So I'm lovely to hear. I used to, but not anymore. Brilliant. So that feeling of like constantly like that pressure, the outer pressure being on. And so for me, what that meant was that it pushed me, all of these feelings pushed me out of alignment. It pushed me out of alignment, and to the point where I was living so far out of alignment that agent illness showed up in my world and literally threw a massive spanner, what I call a cosmic spanner. So if you've not been in my world and you've never heard me talk about cosmic spanners are when the universe literally, I imagine like everybody's lives have all these cogs turning, right? And that's what on the surface, it looks like your life. But if we go behind the scenes, everybody's life has these amazingly lined up cogs that are like a big machine and they're all turning. And sometimes we get in a routine and our machine, aka life, gets into that routine and we're in that rut a little bit and we're constantly kind of moving around. What happened when multiple organ failure hit was like a giant cosmic spanner was thrown into those cogs and the cogs all ground to halt. And it was like, oh shit, what now? And then I had to kind of figure out, how do I get the machine going again? And was the machine of life, if you like, configured the best way for me? Or was it really starting to grate a little bit instead of actually being a good configuration for me? And so I want you just to put your hand on your heart and just take a deep breath in. And I want you just to feel into this and feel that, is your life as it is at the moment, is it a good configuration for you? Is it supportive of you? Or is there things that you want and desire that are not in your life at this point in time? So just feeling into that. And remember, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just really asking yourself, is my life configured in a good way for me? Is it a life that lights me up? Is it a life that makes me happy? Or am I sensing here that there's work to be done and that I feel maybe a little bit put upon? I feel maybe a little bit of pressure. I feel maybe that things aren't going the way that I would like them to go. So feeling into the energy. And I don't want you to worry too much if what comes up for you is like, it's not configured quite the way that I want it to be configured. So let us know in the comments if you're feeling, where are you at with this? Where are you at with this? Is life not there yet? That's okay. So I'm looking here on Facebook, and Sheila's saying I've had remnants of that, the poor me. Yeah, absolutely. So glad to see you this morning. Yes, lots of giving, right? So lots of over giving can get that feelings going. So Charmaine here is saying there's work to be done. And Micah here is saying there's almost there, just a little bit more money in the biz. Okay, awesome. Huge piece not configured. The rest of my life is incredible. Brilliant. Love it. So we got a bit of a mixed bag here. So we've got some work to be done and everything like that. So the first place is understanding our relationship to ourselves is literally the relationship that is going to affect all other relationships. And it sounds really weird because a lot of people don't really talk about this like our relationship with ourselves, because it's just a given, right? Like you are you, and it's just a given that. But we never think about, we think about working on our marriage. We think about working on our romantic relationships. We think about working on our friendships. We think about working on our family relationships. But not very often are we encouraged to work on our own relationship to ourselves. And this was the big revelation of what I call my Get Selfish journey, was realizing that my relationship to myself, while I was feeling resentful, while I was feeling all of these negative emotions on a daily basis, my relationship to myself was absolutely pants. It was awful. I was not a good custodian of the entity that is Joanna Hunter. And so I want you to think about you as a being separate to your consciousness in a way. And I want you to think about, are you a good custodian of yourself? Are you your own best friend? Are you your own cheerleader? Or does that inner critic sometimes run rampant in your own head? Does that inner critic scratch at your consciousness and go, oh, you're not enough. Oh, give it up. Oh, what are you doing that for? Really like that inner self-critic. Because that's your relationship that you're having with yourself. One of my biggest kind of shocking moments came to me when Skylar said to me, Joanna, if you had someone that spoke out loud to you the way that you speak to yourself in your own mind, how long do you suppose you would be friends? When it came to friendships, I was quite hardcore. I've always been a quality over quantity girl. I really, really have. And so I knew immediately, as soon as I heard that question from my spirit team, I wouldn't be my own friend. I would have kicked myself to the curb so quickly, my feet wouldn't even have touched the ground, because the way that I spoke to myself was so derogatory. And always, I never cheered myself on. I was always at myself, always picking at myself. I couldn't do right for doing wrong. And that was the wake-up call. That was a real wake-up call, along with the multiple organ failure. But that was a real wake-up call that my relationship with myself had to change. So I want you just to feel into that question. Would you be your own best friend? Or does your relationship with yourself look like it belongs on Dr. Phil or Jerry Springer? Because that's what my relationship looked like. It was literally fit for one of those shows. Like, we were that couple. If I had been in a romantic relationship with myself, I would have been that couple that was arguing in the car park of Walmart, chucking insults at each other. That is what it looked like. It was not pretty. It was not a pretty sight at all. So understanding this was huge in really repairing my source connection, my connection to source, my connection to everything, my connection to all things. Because here's the thing, Skylar teaches you are your own source connection. And for most people, when they receive that piece of teaching in, they're like, duh, of course I'm my own source connection, like, duh. But here's the thing. It means your relationship that you're having with yourself is going to impact your source connection. So when mine looked like spousal abuse in Walmart's car park type of relationship, yeah, you can bet that receiving wasn't great. My connection to source, not that good. My connection to like things like money and having, you know, peace of mind and peace and harmony in my life. I had a lot of drama in my life at that point in time. And, you know, realizing that my relationship with myself resembled more something on the spousal abuse scale, I vowed to become the change that I wish to see in the world. And I began to really change that relationship with myself. And in stepping in and changing that relationship with myself, what I went on was a journey of kind of self-love, if you like, but it was a bigger journey than that. It was learning that every time that I spoke to myself badly, or every time that I was not nice to myself and my own energy, what I was doing was actually hemorrhaging energy. I was leaking energy. And most people, energy, when they're not in a good relationship with themselves, their energy resembles a leaky faucet. It resembles like they're leaking energy all over the place. And then they wonder why they don't have enough energy for their business, why they don't have enough energy for their lives, why they just don't have enough energy, period. And it's because most people are hemorrhaging energy. And they're hemorrhaging energy. They're in my book, Get Selfish, The Ways Through. I am just wondering if I've got that book. Yes, I've got that book here. So this is available on Amazon. In this book, there's a chapter entitled The Bathtub of Life. And it's a really powerful and potent image that my spirit team, Skylar, gave me. So what Skylar gave me was this image from my own energy of a bathtub with the taps always on. The bathtub is an analogy for your human vessel. Your body, your physical body is a vessel. The bath taps always being on, that water always giving, is the universe always giving. The universe is always giving, the taps are always on. And yet, how come you can feel in your own personal life that you are running on empty? Because we've got the universe always giving, we got the bathtub, the vessel, a tub that actually holds the energy, right? AKA the water. And yet you can feel like you're running on empty, and you can feel like there is only fumes left in your tank. Like you feel like there's, well, the reason is the plug is out of the bath. And if you had a bathtub like mine, not only was the plug out, but there were several holes in the bottom of the tub as well, where I basically leaked like a sieve. So all the energy went out and it leaked like a sieve. And so the first thing is to stabilize the integrity of the vessel. So how do you stabilize the integrity of the vessel? Well, the first thing that we need to do is learn how to put the plug in. And the second thing that we need to do, if you have a bathtub like mine, is you need to learn how to patch the holes of where we're leaking energy. And anywhere where we're leaking energy is where we're giving our power away. Okay? So a big place to look for where you're giving your power away is, where in life are you triggered? Who's got a hotline to your buttons? What's got a hotline to your buttons? What triggers you? Because I'm going to get in your face here about triggers. Nobody put triggers inside of you, right? Like often what happens is with the triggers, we enter into something I call the blame game. Now, the blame game is another huge place where we're hemorrhaging energy, right? So you're scrolling the internet and somebody pisses you off on the internet, right? We've all done it. Let me know in the comments. I'm not alone here. You've read something, you've seen something, you're thinking, grr. You're literally making faces at the thing, right? Like we've all been there. We've all done that, right? But here's the thing. If we start to investigate, where is the grr coming from, right? Where is that weird, icky feeling coming up from? Like, where is that energy coming from? If we start to look, first of all, we can blame it all on them, right? Like, they're just such an idiot. They should never have written this post, right? But here's the thing. It's just words. So why do some words have zero effect on you? And why do some words have a big effect on you? Right? Because they're all just words. They're just collections of sounds together. And so why do some words have big effects and no words have little effects? Well, and why is that different for every individual person, right? Well, the difference is what's going on inside you and what you're perceiving, because you are the perceiver and the receiver of your life experience. So you are receiving in this life experience, but you're also perceiving it, which means you're the one that's narrating, right? So when we feel triggered, the thing is that nobody actually, the people who trigger us are not the people who put the triggers inside of us. The person who put the trigger inside of us is us. And triggers highlight the unloved parts of ourselves. And anywhere where we are not filling our own vessel with our own self-love, we have created a void inside of ourselves. And that void energy is highlighted when some wonderful person on the internet writes some stupid shit and you're losing your crap because you're like, that's a trigger. But what's it really highlighting? It's not that person. And if we can grow above that, if we can elevate above that and use our consciousness, not be reactive and say, okay, I feel really triggered here. How am I going to move through this? And thank the person for triggering you, because they're actually separate and surplus to requirements here, because this is actually not between you and them. It's between you and you. And this is how we can start to tidy up our energy and get to a place of energy that I call squeaky clean energy. Because when our energy is squeaky clean, from that space, we are going to get way, way better results in life. So understanding that when we feel triggered, understanding that when we are feeling like our buttons have been pushed, that is not actually between us and the pusher of that button, but us and us. Because here's the thing. If you were fully, fully healed, there wouldn't be a button to be pushed in the first place. Skylar shared this really, really cool image. Who knows what the staple button looks like? The big red staple button? You know what that one looks like? Let me know in the comments if you know what that looks like. The big red staple button. So yes, okay. So you've got this button and it's chunky, it's raised, okay? I want you to imagine that all over your entire body, do you have those big red staple buttons, right? And maybe, I mean, people used to be able to trigger me for really next to nothing. Because I had a lot of unhealed wounds, and every single one of those red staple buttons all over my body literally was just an unhealed wound, right? So somebody would say something that would hint at somehow that I was not enough, right? Like they would say, yeah, I see what you're offering, but I'm going to go with this other person. And suddenly I'd be like, triggered, right? But what was underneath that? It wasn't because that person, you know, they had free will, they engaged their free will, really should not have been a big deal. But sometimes to me, it was a big deal, right? And so why was it a big deal? Because it was what I was making it mean. And this is quite often what we end up into. When we're triggered, it's what we're making it mean. What are we making it mean? What are we making somebody else's behavior mean when we feel triggered? And it's quite an interesting, it's quite a juicy little topic, because we're making it, and it's, and Holly here is writing the easy button, and it was an easy button. A lot of these unhealed things were easy buttons to push for me, right? So, but when I began to heal, something really funny happened with these big red staple buttons, because what happened with them was that they sunk down and now they were flush. There was no button to hit, because that button only works when it's raised. But when it was flush, couldn't hit the button. And as I went on my own healing journey, I began to heal these deep hurts inside of me. And I began to face the real issues, not the things that presented on the surface, not the wonderful agents that triggered a reaction to let me know that a button was there in the first place. It allowed me to go deep and start really healing in the deep inner healing. I remember the first time that I experienced true inner peace. Somebody came along and said something to me that in the past would have had me losing my shit. Instead of losing my shit, I felt totally fine. But then I got triggered because I wasn't triggered. I was like, what the fuck? So by that time, I was really used to looking at myself and doing the deep inner work. So I was like, oh my God, I have become a psycho. I legit feel nothing. I legit cannot even get a rise out of this. But knowing that only a few months before, the same comment would have had me absolutely raging. And here I was, and I'm literally like this, energetically on myself, checking myself, like, where is it? Where is the reaction? No reaction, nothing. I'm starting to freak out a little bit. I'm starting to sweat. I'm like, I feel nothing. I feel nothing, like actually nothing. I'm starting to really stress. I'm starting to hyperventilate a little bit. I'm starting to think, oh my Lord, what is going on here? Like, I could not even give two shits right now. And I'm trying to muster a feeling because I know that this comment would have had me raging a few months prior. So I'm like thinking, oh my Lord. And I'm really starting to freak out about it. And I'm feeling quite not that great about it. And I'm thinking, oh my God, why am I feeling like this? And so I go through like, what is it? Like, have I lost all feeling? Have I lost all apathy? Am I like completely apathetic? Like, what the hell is going on? And I had a little book, which I really, really adore. And I highly recommend this little book. It's called When I Love Myself Enough. It's by a woman called Kim McMillan. And it's just a tiny, tiny little book. And it just has a couple of sentences each page says something like, when I love myself enough, I bought myself a feather bed. That one actually changed my life. But this time it was when I love myself enough. And she talked about the first time she recognized the inner peace. And I read it and I thought, holy shit. It was just this moment of like, holy shit, this is what inner peace feels like. I could not literally give two fucks right now about what that person said to me, even though I know a few months prior to that, I would have been losing my stuff over it. And here I was, couldn't care less. And I'm like, huh, isn't it funny? And I started laughing. I was like, literally tears rolling down my face. I'm laughing like a complete lunatic because I'm like, how fucked up is my life? I could not even tell the first time I truly, truly experienced inner peace. I couldn't even tell what it was. I thought I had become a psycho because I couldn't feel anything. Because I was so used to just being this mass of constant feelings. And here I was in the face of something I knew that was like normally triggering and not triggering at all, like not triggering one tiny little bit. And I thought, wow, holy moly. And it was such a revelation. Since then, my triggers have become further and further apart. I used to go from being triggered multiple times a day. And if you're one of my students and you're one of my clients, that might seem very weird because it's not something that you're maybe used to hearing about or seeing from me at all, because I've really healed that much now, so that the normal standard is I don't really, I do get triggered, but not to the same extent, and certainly not where I'm like months bent out of shape, and certainly not years bent out of shape. And I move through these triggers much, much faster as well as a result of the healing that I've done. But here's the thing that I used to go from, like, I used to think if I could imagine myself as a cartoon, I was one of those cartoon characters where their head exploded multiple times a day. And every time my head exploded, it was like, that was me being triggered. I'm like, fuck's sake. And then I'm like, it's all good now. It's all good. It's all good. You know, and I was like, just literally going through life like this, wondering why I never felt peace, why there was always drama, why there was always what I used to call the shit of the day. Like, what is the shit of the day? Like, it was like I was rolling out the red carpet and inviting it into my life, you know? But here's the thing. Learning to go on my Get Selfish journey, learning to move into sacred self-union with myself, learning to switch off the struggle by plugging the bathtub, by putting that plug in. So it doesn't take a genius to work out what happens when we plug the bathtub and we patch up all the holes, all the places where we're leaking and hemorrhaging energy, all spaces, places, people, situations, we're giving our power away. It doesn't take a genius to work out next what's going to happen, since the taps are always on. The bathtub fills up and then it starts to overflow. Let me tell you about this state of energy. When the bathtub starts to overflow, you always have enough to give. Always. There's always energy. There's always enough to give. And so really, that period of getting selfish, one of the reasons why people will not go on a Get Selfish journey or will not seek unity is the absolutely terrifying fear that you are forever going to be the selfish monster of, like, where you're just self-indulgent, gazing at your own navel in, day out, and you have no room and no capacity for anybody else. But here's the thing, you're a bathtub. And the universe is always giving, the taps are always on. And when the bathtub is patched up and you're not hemorrhaging energy and leaking like a sieve, the water fills and then it gets to overflow. And if you always give, if you're overflow, you're always giving from an abundant energy. And I have made a vow within my own business, within my own life, that I only give from an overflow state. I never give from a state of energy of where I'm lacking in energy. Because if I start to seek giving from a space of lack, what happens is that you start to code for the agents. And the first agents on the scene are the emotional branch of agents. And it'll be like, agent I don't feel good, reporting for G. That's always the first agent. And then from agent I don't feel good, reporting for G, is probably quickly followed by agent resentment, or agent I hate this right now, or another one of these agents will show up. And if we are very good at ignoring them and stuffing them down, so give me a packet of crisps and a cup of tea and some muffins, and I'll stuff those agents back down so I won't have to feel them. And so I'll just self-soothe myself instead. What happens is that we code for the outer branch of agents. And the outer branch of agents are people that start to really, really push our buttons, situations that really push our buttons. And the outer branch reports for duty. Now we're jangling inside, and it's like somebody's dinging a bell and we're the bell, and we're feeling like we're practically rattling with life. But we can be quite hardcore as human beings. So we push all of those emotions down as well that comes up from those people that trigger us, or we get swept 100% into the drama of it. We enter into disempowering states like the blame game and why are those people against me, and all of these things of really starting to tell the story of the void energy of where we feel life is against us. Things are set up to ruin our day and things like that. And if we ignore those agents, then the final branch of agents that the universe sends, and this is a controversial branch of agents, is really the agent illness. We start to not become well. We start to have an agent that has our back so deeply, it's willing to kind of even take us out of the game a little bit, right? So it's like, if you are a chronic people pleaser, like I was back in the day, always saying yes. So agent, I don't feel good, as I said yes to the things I wanted to say no to, reporting for duty. Then I stuffed those down. Then the people that literally took the fucking piss and literally took a length of you. And we all know what those feel like, don't we? Right? Agent anxiety, absolutely. Right? So the agents that take and take and take and take, and it's never enough. Have we encountered those agents? Do you know who I mean? Right? So, and they're just waiting for you to say no. But guess what? You're such a people pleaser. You're not going to say no to them. So you keep saying yes. More resentment, more feeling hard done by, more like just wish people would just leave me alone. And then eventually agent illness might report. And I had a lot of different agent illnesses that supported me in my learning, in my ability to start saying no. So agent gallbladder was a doozy, extremely painful, gallstones. But when I had a gallbladder attack, there was no saying yes. I had to say no. I physically was not fit enough because I was either in the hospital having been on a morphine drip. So there was no way that I could people please while that agent was in full force in my body. And so we start to see this cascade effect, and all of it is there for you. The whole system of the way this universe works is there for you, to support you. So when I didn't have the strength to say no, agent illness usually stepped in and did it for me. But here's the cool thing that happened and how my body healed. My body healed when I learned to say no. My need for agent illness literally disappeared when I started standing up for myself, when I started being really, really true to myself, honest with what I wanted and what I was willing to be part of and not willing to be part of. But not only did it make agent illness disappear out of my life, it also made agent button pushers of life disappear out of my life. So they don't come very often now. And then on top of it, it also made the emotional branch of agents a lot gentler and kinder and nicer. Instead of having agents that are like, I'm dinging your bell and you're feeling like you're rattling from the trigger, I now started to have agents that were delivering emotions like joy and happiness. And when I finally recognized what the fuck it was, inner peace. Not a psycho, just experiencing inner peace. Who knew, right? And it was this beautiful, quiet feeling inside of me of where I literally could see very clearly how at once upon a time I would have been quite bent out of shape, quite upset about something. And there I was able to just ride the surface of it and not feel anything, not feel emotionally involved or attached. And it was so good. And this is the essence of living a soul-led life, of allowing your soul to lead in your life, of learning to heal in a deep, personal, fundamental level. And what that does for you is it heals not only yourself or your relationship with yourself, it heals your relationship to source, because you are your own source connection. You are that connection with source. So what I thought today, what we would do for the remainder of today's time is to do a bit of an energy clinic. So if there is something that you're trying to manifest, something that you want to bring into your life, something that's triggering you and that you're maybe struggling to work through, whatever it is on a personal level, let me know in the comments. Give me your questions in your comments and let's workshop some of this energy and let's get you into alignment. So while you're waiting, I'm going to tell you about my program that I have coming up called YOUnity Consciousness. In YOUnity, we go through 4 really powerful modules. And in module 1, we talk about ending struggle. So we understand and we dissect struggle, and we start to understand what's causing struggle and why we have struggle in our personal lives. And we look to ending the struggle. In module 2, we look at going into sacred self-union. So that's where you really start to make friends with yourself, where you start to really, really heal the energy. In module 3, we go into something that we call super alignment. So there's alignment, but there's also something in my world that we call super alignment. Super alignment is where you truly, truly align with the truth of your soul, with the truth of who you are. And in super alignment, that's where you start to take on almost like, without sounding too fantastical, like magical powers. Your life starts to become magic from super alignment. Like really cool stuff happens when you're in super alignment. Things that start to, like, money shows up out of nowhere and ideas pop in that make you a lot of money or things like that. These are essences of super alignment, and we show you how to get yourself into super alignment. And then what we do is it's the universe is meeting us where we're meeting ourselves, right? So if you are literally everybody's dog's body to everybody, then what happens is that your standard is literally set too low. And the universe is meeting you at that lower standard. So if you want a higher standard for your life, if you want a higher standard for your money, for your relationships, for your business, for everything in your life, we have to set the standard. We have to set the bar. And in module 4, that's what we teach you in YOUnity. We teach you how to set the standard and to set the bar so that you have a high bar in your life. So let me know if you have any questions, and then I will and I will let you know, and I will channel some guidance for you. So Tracy here is saying confidence in my relationships and business. So the first thing that we need to understand, Tracy, about confidence is that confidence is built, not given, right? So sometimes what we're looking for is something to give us confidence, right? So often we're conditioned by this, by have a little drink, like a little bit of Dutch courage, isn't it? And we take a nip of whiskey or something like that, and it's like, oh, grab some Dutch courage. This conditions us to believe, even if you've never done that, this conditions us to believe that confidence is given, right? But actually confidence is built. It's built brick by brick, and it's built brick by brick by doing the thing that scares you. And then we build it, right? So when you are in relationships and business, so let's start with relationships first. Here's a really cool energy that will help to give you confidence within your relationship. We live in a universe that's underpinned and governed by a universal law known as the law of attraction. The law of attraction is like energy attracts like energy, okay? So I used to see this a lot in my life coaching clients. My life coaching clients would be in a relationship with someone, and then I would like notice that there was like this energy of where like they were like holding the energy like this, and they were like holding some of their energy back in the relationship, like they were saving 10% of themselves. And what was that 10% for? Well, that 10% in the relationship, they were saving that 10% just in case this person was going to break their heart. And that would mean that 10% was going to be okay if this person turned out to be a total douche and was breaking their heart. But here's the thing, as they held back 10% of their energy, like energy attracts like energy, their partner would also hold back energy. And then they would come to me as a life coach and be like, I'm really into this guy, but I feel like he's slightly emotionally unavailable. I'm like, funny how the universe mirrors you. And I was like, well, I can kind of see in your energy field that you're holding. Yes. I need to hold that 10% back for myself because, you know, I've had my heart broken so many times. And so therefore I'm like requiring. The fact that you've hired me as a coach to help you coach you through this problem tells me that you're already emotionally invested. So it's really time to like either go big or go home in the energy, right? Where you've either got to go all in, put the chips on the table and declare ourselves, or we take our chips out of the race and we say no thank you to the relationship. So for confidence for the relationship is realizing that you will get what you put in. So if you put in all the chips on the table and it doesn't work out, you will never, ever be in that relationship. Even if it does not work out, you will never, ever be in a state of energy where you will wonder if you had put more energy in, that you would have got more energy out, because you will have known that you put your max on the table. And that will give you confidence in your relationship to be okay no matter what. In your business, the same thing in your business, like what you're willing to put in your business. So in business, one of the things that's really helped me to have confidence in my business is to be willing to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? This is the power of intention in your business. Be willing to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. So be willing to share your big, scary, we call them the big, scary, hairy goals. Be willing to share them. Be willing to tell other people those goals, even though you may be in a position where you have no idea how the frig you're even going to do it. Now, you're not doing that to torture yourself. You're not doing that to like set yourself up for failure. What you're doing is that you're declaring to the universe you are willing to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that can help you gain confidence. But the initial piece of confidence that's going to be built there is having to do the scary thing, which is like putting yourself out there and saying the thing. But here's the thing, if we can't own our goals when they're just goals and they're not like a physical thing in our hand, what's the chances of us actually being able to own a physical thing in our hand if we can't even own the energy of it? We're like, my goals are, I hope nobody notices. And we, you know, and we pretend like, or can we boldly say our goals? Can we boldly say, this is my goal, this is my thing? Okay. So Bella here is saying, I've just found out my ex has moved in with my best friend, not romantically, but it's still agony, and it has triggered deep feelings of betrayal and being left out of school. So honestly, it's the most painful feeling and it has floored me. Anything to do with either of them now is super triggering. So the first thing that we're going to do, Bella, in this situation is we're going to thank them, the agents, for bringing up all of the feelings. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to journal all of the feelings. So we've got some stuff, good stuff here already. Betrayal, being left out of school, right? So most likely these two people did not leave you out of school, right? And yet the feelings of being left out of school, can we see how we're like attaching them in? This is how triggers work. They take lots of little pieces of unhealed bits of us and they clump together and they form this kind of like very stifling feeling within ourselves. So the first thing is we're going to write down the betrayal. We're going to write down feeling left at school. We're going to go through all of the feelings, like what is flooring you? What is creating this pain inside of you? All of it. And once we've got our list of all of that, we're going to start going through each piece of it at one piece at a time, and we're going to bring it up for healing. And so where you could be looking in our world, Bella, is I know you're in LightWeb, so going into LightWeb and using your stories tool, going through the stories tool to begin to release it, beginning to use the, you know, really looking at, there is, I can't remember which module it's in, but it's in LightWeb as well. And there is an entire module of, and in fact, it's also in YOUnity as well, of like how you go through. So you go through the surface layer is like these painful feelings. And then it's a series of questions that you ask to get down into the base layer. Once we're at the base layer, we can actually heal the base layer. If we heal the base layer, what happens is on the surface, multiple triggers heal on the surface. So here's another thing that I want to give you a little bit of hope with, is that here's the thing. All of this is coming up for you because you are ready to heal it. The way that the universe is set up, the way that life is set up, the way that the world is set up is that this could not come up for you unless you were ready to heal it, right? So even though right now it feels overwhelming, even though right now it feels like it's too much, even though right now like you're just like, oh my God, I am so fucking over this already before it's even really fully begun. Here's the thing. The only reason that this is coming up is because you yourself are a state of energy and in a state of energy where you are actually ready to finally heal and release this. It's the only reason why it would come up. Otherwise, it would just not even appear in your consciousness if you were not ready yet. So the fact is that you are ready, which is a really, really good thing. Also, as well, I would be looking at that relationship from the point of view, your best friend relationship, from the point of view of maybe within that relationship, is your standard set too low, right? Because you deserve to have people who really love and support you. And I, no disrespect to your best friend, but there's a level of where I believe that you deserve better. And perhaps this is the opportunity for you to set that bar higher and say, you know what, I do deserve better. So I hope that helps you. So I have a question. In 2 weeks, I'm turning 33, and I would love to know your experience going through it. So Svetlana, tell us what's coming up for you at turning 33. What's coming up? What is coming up for you? And if you can be muted, I can unmute you and we can have a chat about it. So let me know what's coming up for you, Svetlana. What's the feelings coming up? What I'll do is I'll move on to Joanne's question and then I'll come back to Svetlana's question here. So Joanne, do you want to unmute yourself? You're saying you've got a relationship question.
Oh no. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm not 100% supported. Oh, I'm saying this on camera and it's recorded. Maybe my sex life isn't the greatest. I feel like, I don't know. It just, I'm not sure that it's all that it could be. And I feel like I have all my chips on the table and I am authentic and open and honest and loving and kind. And yes, that's about it in a nutshell.
Okay, so what you have here is a standards issue, right, of where you've set the standard and you're starting to wake up to thinking, well, okay, maybe the standard's not exactly where I want it. Maybe it's not exactly like, you know, maybe I'm not getting the love life that I want. Maybe I'm not really, you know, but I feel like I'm all in and I feel like my chips are on the table. So that's good, right? That's a good aspect. We feel like we've gone and popped our chips on the table and all the rest of it. The thing here is you said you're not feeling supported. Okay. So a lot of the time when we don't feel supported is because of an internal energy of where we're not supporting ourselves. So we have a lack of clarity around what would actually support us. We're often very good in life of saying, well, I don't feel supported in X, Y, Z. But then we said, okay, well, what would support you? People go, I got nothing. And so the question I'm going to pose to you here, Joanne, to help you work through this is to get your journal out and to start to sit and think what would actually support you, what would feel supportive to you, get crystal clear on that, and then see how much you can meet yourself there. Okay. So how much can you meet yourself in there? Because one of the things that we do is we'll seek to relationships to meet us or to meet our unmet needs. But here's the thing. That creates for relationships where the energy starts to get a little bit wonky, because it is not actually another person's job to meet our needs. It's actually our job to meet our needs. And then their love is like extra on top. And so what it is a beautiful opportunity to see, where can I meet my needs at a bigger thing? Now, when we first come to this realization, what comes up for us is the void energy, because the first thing that will come up for us is like, gee, I'm so sick of meeting all my needs. I'm like, I'm never done. When does it get to be my turn? And that's that's the weaker part of us. The stronger part of us knows that we're capable of meeting all of our needs and meeting all of them adequately and more than enough. So the first thing is to really look at what do we need to be supported? What do we want? Also, as well, then looking at the love life as well, is what do we want from the love life, right? So getting crystal clear clarity for that. Here's the thing. This is sometimes like the hardest step, is once we've identified what the needs actually are and we have crystal clear clarity on that, then it is up to us to meet as many of those needs as we can. And obviously, when we're in a partnership, can't be there in the bedroom by ourselves, right? Like, it is our job to then communicate those needs. And that's part of supporting yourself. That's how we support ourselves, by communicating the need and saying, well, I need this from the relationship. Now, obviously, one of two things is going to happen. The person that you're in the relationship with can meet that need and they say, no problem, thank you for letting me know, I really appreciate that, and your relationship will deepen as a result. Or the scarier one is the person says, I can absolutely not meet that need. And at that point, you have to decide whether that person is falling below your standard that you've set for yourself, or if that's a hard no, and that's an exit move then in the relationship. Or it's, well, I'm willing to compromise on that piece. And if you're willing to compromise on that piece, you've got to make peace with that and be good with it. That's what heals the relationship. So it's not always like you're in or you're out, you know, like it's not always like black and white like that. Sometimes there's things that's like not a deal breaker. So I'll give you an example from my own relationship with my husband. I am what's known as an ambivert, which means I'm both an introvert and an extrovert. So I will have times in my life where I'm extremely extroverted and I like going out and socializing and being with people. And then I have times in my life where I'm very introverted and it's like way too people-y out there and I can't handle it. So I just want to be inside. My husband's 100%, like almost 100% introvert. So, you know, one of the compromises that I'm willing to make is that I do not seek to drag his butt everywhere where I want to go when I want to be extroverted, because I understand that that's not him. That's me accepting him for who he is, and he accepts me for who I am. So there's times in his life where he compromises for me and I compromise for him. Now, that's okay, because I'm willing to do that within my own standards. But if I wasn't willing to do that, that could be a deal breaker in a relationship. But it's really deciding. But unless you have the clarity there, we can't make the good decisions for ourselves. The clarity has to come first. I hope that makes sense for you, Joanne.
That was brilliant. How did you make that sound so simple? Thank you very much.
I am grateful that it made sense. Good. So Rini is saying, my current two top issues are health issue with my gut, and treatment can be challenging. So trying to get holistic support too, and trying to come to finally reckoning with the agent, depression, anxiety. I've improved, then I fall down again, and I keep trying to move forward. So I can fulfill dreams and creativity and holistic. Okay. So here what we've got, Irini, is we got the same problem in two sections, right? So here's the thing. What we present on in the surface, so you've got a health issue on the surface, because that's what you're going through. So you're going through a health issue, but you're also going through depression and anxiety. So they may look like a completely separate issue, but let me tell you that they are branches of the same tree. And so if we get into the root of everything, so here we've got as well, part of battling with the depression and anxiety means like it feels like they're preventing us from getting to our dreams or moving forward in life, right? So we have this third issue laying on the surface of feeling maybe a little bit victimized in like, I'm trying so hard to get these dreams and you know, and launch my life and all of those things. And that's a pressure that we've placed on ourselves as well. So we've got that on the surface. We've got a gut issue on the surface. We've got agent depression, anxiety, which are from the emotional branch. But let's go to agent illness first, because agent illness is like I always call agent illness like the big guns. Like that's when the universe has sent you the big guns. So I always deal with agent illness first. That's my top tip. So go into agent illness. So the first thing is we're going into the gut. So the gut is all about digestion. So often when people have gut problems and they have issues with their gut, which I had IBS from the age of 15. So I'm no stranger to gut issues or gut problems, but I can tell you that one of the big things is our digestion for life, how we are digesting life. So when we are finding that there's literally things in our life that are unpalatable and that we are struggling to digest in our daily lives, gut issues can be a big, big thing, right? So the first thing that I would suggest that you do more than anything is not really worry so much about your creative dreams and those things, because it will come. The first thing that I would do is look to support those gut issues. So what can be the most loving thing that you can do for yourself for your gut issues? If you start from the gut issues and you start healing that, the funny thing is, here's another really weird thing, right? Serotonin, that is essential for you feeling good. It's a happy chemical. It's a chemical that is responsible for making you feel happier and calmer and chilling the fuck out, right? The opposite energies of anxiety and depression, they're actually produced in the gut. So can you see how all of this is linked and all of this is connected? So working with the gut issues is the premier thing that you can do to begin to help and support yourself. So really asking yourself, like even speaking to your gut, saying to your gut, hey gut, what do you need? What do you need right now? And it could be that it needs something from you emotionally. It maybe needs you to stop engaging in a particular type of behavior that is creating anxious feeling in your body and making it difficult to digest food even. It might be that it might require from you to feed it in a particular way. So your gut might even say, well, you know what, like, can we leave blah, blah, blah type of food out because I really don't feel good having that. So working on that, well, everything will filter out. And this is one of the cool things when in my Lightbringer program, where I teach my method of healing and I teach my method to my LightWeb students of how to take those tools and go deeper. The thing is, everything has a root cause. And often when we're presenting with like multiple problems, it is actually just one cause. They're all manifestations. The depression, the anxiety, the gut issues, the feeling like we're never getting anywhere near the dreams and the things like that. They're all manifestations of one issue. Heal that one issue. And what happens is everything on the surface heals as well. So we hope that that begins to give you a little bit of clarity of where you can go forward with that. So Cassie here is saying, I'm really triggered at the thoughts of launching and no one signing up. So I avoid launching. A self-fulfilling prophecy indeed. Cassie, I love the honesty in this. And I don't think that there's a single entrepreneur that has not had that thought of like, oh my God, what if no one signs up, right? What if no one signs up? Here's the thing. You might have had launches where no one signed up. And the big thing that we've got to take a big deep breath is I didn't die, right? So like the worst has happened and you didn't die, right? So that's the first thing. So like knowing that you can handle it, because that's the first thing. One of the reasons why anxiety is because we have this fear that we're not going to be able to handle it. So we've already been through it. We can calm our jam a little bit and say, okay, I've handled it. I didn't die. Everything was okay. The world kept on turning. The sun went up in the morning, went back down at night. Everything was like normal in life, right? But here's the thing. So let's look at the trigger of like, what are you making it mean if no one signs up? Because that's where the juice is. That's the juiciness of this, and being willing to work through that. So going into there and going, okay, well, if no one signs up, it means, and then you've got to fill in the blank, right? And your brain is going to spit out. And even if your brain spits out like really stupid shit, like you're writing that and you're thinking, you know, I remember once doing a similar exercise to this and looking at an energy that had been flagged for me, flagged for healing, and I started going through it. And when I got to the base of it, I was like, and my daddy doesn't love me. And I was like, what? Even as I wrote it, I was going, what? But here's the thing, if your brain thought it, you held the energy of it, right? So I'm going to say that again. If your brain thought it, you held the energy of it. So here's the thing, when your brain is holding the energy of something, it means you're holding the limiting belief of it too, right? So even if you like in the light of day, when the light is being shone on it and you're going, that is so daft, like, I don't really think like that. But here is that there was a part of you that thought like that. And that part of you needs to also be honored. That part of you needs to be like forgiven and being like, can we let go of this belief? Well, yes, actually, take it. I am done with it, right? And so it's being willing to go through and really, what are you making it mean that nobody is going to sign up, right? Like, what would that mean about you? Because that's what needs to be healed. And once that's healed, you can launch, and you don't give a crap as somebody. Of course, you want people to sign up, but you won't be in that situation where the fear of no one signing up is actually controlling you and preventing you from launching. And so I hope that makes sense. Tracy here is saying thank you, makes so much sense, brilliant. Loads of hugs here for Bella, I love it. My community is the best. Holly's saying, I get most triggered when I feel like my husband is not listening to me. Oh, Holly, I love you extra for bringing this up. Just as a little point of interest, how many of you have ever felt like a spouse or other people are not listening, like you've not been listened to? Let me know in the comments, like how many of you are feeling that way. So yes. Okay. So loads of yeses, of people not feeling like we're being listened to. Okay. So please, all of you that feel like you're not being listened to, just take a deep breath. Let's go. Okay. Often when we're not being listened to in our world, the person not listening to us is actually an agent sent by the divine so that we can start listening to ourselves. Because often when others don't listen to us, it's because we are not listening to us. I'm just ripping that Band-Aid off. It's an ouchie. It feels ugh. But I guarantee you that if we're being willing to look at, so the journals, I write down, where am I not listening to myself? What are the things that you keep saying to yourself and that you're literally not doing? Because what's being called into is consciousness here, right? So I'll give you an example of how that looked for me. So I felt like my kids and my husband never listened to me. And so I got my journal out and I thought, okay, where am I not listening to myself? And began to look at my own energy and to see in the outer world as a reflection of my inner energy. So as I began to look at my own energy, I realized that quite often I would get like a little nudge to like go for a walk, or get a nudge to drink some water, or get a nudge to do something. A big one for me, and this is going to sound a bit TMI, so I do apologize, but a big one for me was not going to the loo when I needed it. So what I would do is my body would tell me, Joanna, you need the toilet, and I would ignore it. But of course, as we know, we cannot ignore not going to the loo forever. So it would get to the stage where it was like desperate measures, and I was practically like hobbling to the loo, and then that sweet relief of like, oh, thank God, right? But look at what was happening. And there was two energies happening there in one little sitting. The first energy was I wasn't listening to myself, right? So I was literally telling my body, shut the fuck up. I know better. So I wasn't going to go until my body was like, you got to go now or we're going to have an accident, right? Only then would I do that. But also as well, I was sending a second signal to the universe that I didn't deserve to have my needs met when I had needs. Right. So the moment, so I had this weird thing of delayed gratification. Do you know how that delayed gratification showed up in my business? I'd have people saying, yeah, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to sign up for your thing. And I'd be like, oh, okay, great. Awesome. A week later, no sign of them. 2 weeks later, no sign of them. 3 weeks, maybe write a little message, be like, hey, are you okay? We left it on you were gonna come and join this program. You're gonna come and yeah. I'm gonna do it. Another week would pass, and then maybe they would sign up. But that's what delayed gratification looked like, right? So that is literally those people were literally a mirror of my own inner energy. When I tidied up that energy of like literally meeting my needs and listening to my own body, listening to myself immediately, responding to that signal now instead of like half an hour later, guess what? People would say, hey, I'm signing up. And then like 2 seconds later, they would actually sign up. So it was like bizarre. But here's how these things transpire in the metaphysics. The universe is literally taking its cues from us. So when we feel triggered as well, the unloved part of us that's being highlighted is the part of us that's not always listening to ourselves as well. So I hope that makes sense. So Svetlana here is saying somewhere between excitement and not knowing what to expect. And I get a lot of guidance of big changes coming. So I was curious about your experience. So, I mean, really just getting older is just getting older, right? It's like another year around the planet. So for me, the way that I tend to look at it, the ones that I've always struggled with is the sixes. So like turning 36, turning 26. 26 is probably the worst one. 36 was kind of rough. 46, I started to chill a little bit. But because then you're kind of in the arse end of this is my logic. You're kind of in the arse end of those birthdays. 33 is not, it's a transition of 1 year to another. The first thing that I have done now, as I'm getting older, one of the things that I've done now is really look at the privilege it is to turn the age that I'm turning. Because there is people, like you hear people all the time dying at like your age, right? Like even at 33, you hear people dying at that age too, right? So here's the thing, like the first thing I lean deeply into is the gratitude. I lean deeply, deeply, deeply into the gratitude of like really being grateful that I'm being granted another trip around the sun in our mothership called Earth. So I love that. I tap in there deeply and I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. If I wake up on my birthday, I'm like, yes, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's do this next year. The next thing as well is that when we get a lot of feeling of like big changes and things like that is to match or trade our expectations for appreciation. So again, the gratitude, right? So often when we feel like, I feel like there's big changes, I feel like there's like this, we can get into a state of lots and lots of expectations. If we get in a state of tons and tons of expectation, what can happen is that if it doesn't pan out quite to the same degree of energy that we had felt in the expectation of it, we can feel very deflated. And then what we end up is on a kind of feast and famine cycle roller coaster, an energetic roller coaster with our own energy. So to avoid that energetic roller coaster is to trade the expectation of what is coming next for gratitude, that I'm grateful for what is coming next. I'm grateful for what it will be. I'm grateful for the new energy that I feel brewing. I am grateful. And as we trade that expectation for gratitude, we start to attract more things to be grateful in in for us, which is a better, more useful energy than expectation anyway. Because the more we expect, the more we expect, the more we expect, the more we actually code for expectation, which is never fulfillment. It's just expectation of fulfillment. So it's never fulfillment, but gratitude is guaranteeing fulfillment, is bringing fulfillment to us. So that's how we can create more fulfillment in our lives as we transition, and especially around these big milestones of coming into, and I like to see, instead of my birthdays as goals, I see them as milestones. And in my mind, milestones are always meant to be surpassed. Right? So, and do the same thing with your goals as well. You can set your goals as milestones, and then your mental attitude is that they're always meant to be surpassed anyway, because milestones are meant to be surpassed. So I hope that makes sense. So Charmaine here is saying feeling stuck and not knowing which way to go next, not feeling motivated, and agent illness has turned up. So the first thing that I would suggest is that you work with agent illness, and that you allow agent illness to be the teacher. Like your agent illness right now in your life, and anybody that's experiencing agent illness, whether agent long-term illness or just agent illness coming up, anybody who is experiencing that agent in our lives at the moment, like the first thing that I would suggest to you is that that agent is also a teacher. It's a sacred teacher of you. And allowing yourself to tap in deeply into that teacher can yield absolute liquid gold. So what I'm hearing here in your question, Charmaine, is a lot of pressure. Like, I'm feeling stuck. I don't know which way to go. I'm not feeling motivated, and I've got agent illness. That is a lot of pressure that we've placed on ourselves. So the first thing that I would be looking to do is, how can I start to remove some of this pressure off me? Right? Where is it that I can proverbially let myself off the hook? Now, obviously, there is a financial element to our business, right? We've got to put food on the table, got to pay that rent, we've got to pay those bills, right? So that is a pressure that we can't really easily remove. But sometimes what that happens is, sometimes in my business, I go fast and I've got my foot on the accelerator, and sometimes in my business, I go slow. And during the times that I go slow, what I do is I stick with what I call the tried and tested, right? So the tried and tested are the things that you know that work for you. So for instance, this is something that we talk about a lot in Divine Planning Abundant Profits program. We talk a lot about what's your bread and butter income. So what is the income that puts the bread and butter on the table? Once you have that crystal clear and you're clear about that, you give your focus to it, because that's focus that's required for you to be able to pay bills and carry on with life and do what you need to do to support your woman in your life. We don't have to be so much in priestess mode, because we're going through things with agent illness on the woman. So all we need to do is support the woman. And the woman really just needs to know that the roof over her head is going to stay there. So that's the first thing. So we can take all the business pressure off that, we do not have to be businesswoman of the year. We do not have to like hit high flying goals and stuff like that during those periods. Instead, what we do is we focus on the teacher that is agent illness. And we begin to understand how is this teacher supporting me? Because everything in life is happening for us. And that's a really hard concept from a human perspective to see. But if we can see that concept from a soul perspective, the higher perspective, we can start to see that everything has a divine service to us. Once we can understand the divine service of the different things like agent illness or agent button pusher or agent emotional branch of agents, we can begin to heal that. And as we begin to heal that, the need for those agents disappears. So what I would suggest is that the first thing that we do is look at the bread and butter income, stick to that, and then move on to agent illness and really deal with that and give to yourself what you need. And so really it's time for you to jump into like YOUnity or get selfish and really work through that principles. And that will really help you to just kind of really align your energy. So I hope that makes sense. So Carol here is saying, what is causing internal pressure has increased. What's causing the internal pressure has increased blood pressure and dizziness, holding on to weight. There's a thought process or feeling It's holding me back from starting my next class. So what I really think is the first thing that we need to do is release the pressure, which is probably going to help you to lower your blood pressure, right? So I'm no doctor and I'm not a person here to advise on medical things, but I definitely feel from an emotional connection and an emotional standpoint is like, so the first thing that's coming into my mind is EFT tapping. So we're like tapping, we're taking full responsibility for our energy, and then we're going to go around like I have all this pressure, and you're going to emit the energy that you have, like I have all this pressure, I have all this stuff, and then starting to tap, and that will probably have a positive effect on your blood pressure and your dizziness. If it is also holding you back from starting your next class, the next thing that I would look at is how aligned is that class, right? Maybe we've told ourselves we wanted to do this. Maybe we've told ourselves we're doing it for XYZ reason. Maybe we've made it mean a lot of stuff, but actually the truth of the matter is that there is something else going on in the energy, and there's something else. And maybe, you know, it's possible with our work that we outgrow our work sometimes, and that the work isn't as aligned as it was when we first started doing those classes, and that it's time to tweak them a little bit. Maybe we're over giving, maybe we've expanded in some way, shape, or form, and that is not being honored. So actually this agent showing up is actually like energetic protection. So I hope that makes sense. So Cassie saying perfect, going to work on that. Irene is saying thank you so much. So grateful for every morning, especially when I get to watch the sunrise and the beauty around me. Beautiful. I love that. So I am going to wrap up today's call. And I hope that this has given you a little bit of insight into the work that we do, not only in YOUnity as well, but into how important it is to honor our relationship with ourselves, because our relationship with ourselves is where all other relationships stem, whether they're romantic relationships, whether they're relationships to money, whether they're relationships to our home. Is our home even supportive of us? Sometimes, you know, I've lived in many different places, and I can tell you I've lived in homes that were not supportive of me. But it was also the standard that I set. It was also the standard that I'd set for myself. So if you are interested in joining us next Monday for YOUnity, we start Monday evening next week. The program is 4 really powerful modules. We teach it over 2 weeks. We teach a class each day for 5 days. Then we have a little break, and then we teach a class at another 5 days of classes, and then we have the weekend and we do a Q&A call. So if you are interested in joining YOUnity and working on yourself and working on your self-relationship, it is a lifetime access course. What that means is that you get lifetime access. So you can take multiple live rounds. So every time we do a live round of YOUnity, then you get invited to come along and go there all at once. So Donna here is saying, will there be a replay for those on the call? This is a lot of information to take in. Yes, the replays are always on YouTube for the transmissions of light, and they're always in the Be Magic group as well. So you've got access. You can go into my YouTube channel, Joanna Hunter com, and on YouTube you will find me, and you will find all the transmissions of light there. You can listen back to them as many times as you want. And then in YOUnity, you've got lifetime access to all the live calls in YOUnity. You can go back and listen to those again and again if you want to jump in that program. It is an amazing, amazing program. I definitely feel that a lot of my success in my own life, and a lot of the financial success, but also as well the success I feel as a human being of not being a hot triggered mess all the time, is, you know, down to the work that I teach in YOUnity and what I teach other people to do in YOUnity. It's been life-changing for me, absolutely. And if anything, I would definitely say this actually giving me my life back. Before, it felt like everybody had a hotline to my emotional state and they could dial up a negative emotional state literally at the drop of a hat. And in going through Unity, I've taken my life back. And in going through the principles that I teach in the class Unity, I've learned how to view these things through different lenses, like seeing it as agents, which has helped me deal with it so much easier. It's a lot easier when you look at things like illness and people that push your buttons and your emotions as agents. It's a lot easier not to take it so personally, because obviously we're living our lives and it's personal to us. So it's very easy to take a lot of this stuff so personally. And a lot of it isn't actually personal. It's energy. Energy's like electricity, you know, that whether the lights are on in your house or not, it's not personal. It's whether the switch is on or not, right? And the same with energy in your own system, in your own being, in your own energy field. Whether energy is on for something or whether energy is off for something, what you're open and available for, it's not personal. It's literally just energy. It's just literally whether the switch is on or off. And when we can start to see life as that, then we don't have to get so jammed up in the ins and outs of it. And we jam a lot of our emotional selves up in this. So I hope today has opened your eyes a little bit to what could be waiting for you in Unity. Obviously, you can join Unity on its own, or you can join the 100 where you get everything. We leave nothing out for our 100 ladies. And I want to congratulate Christina, who is our newest 100 lady who joined this morning. So I think she's on Oz time, so I'm not sure if she's going to be on this call, but she'll maybe catch a replay. So big congratulations, and I'm so excited to start her year-long journey. And I will speak to you guys soon. Take care, sending you lots and lots of love. Bye now.